And a big hello to Lucy from Mind Body Tree. Thank you for this winter wellness session, and it's over to you.
Thanks very much, Emma. Okay, so hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I am here this evening just to chat to you a little bit about winter wellness. My name's Lucy. I'm a nutritional therapist, so my angle here is going to be mainly around food and nutrients that you can include in your diet, and just some tips really for navigating this time of year and just staying as resilient and healthy as possible. So we will jump in. So this presentation is called Winter Wellness, and we are going to be talking about how we can keep our bodies and minds fit and healthy in the winter months, which most of us will know can be quite difficult at times. So what are we up against? What are we why is this time of year so tricky for our health and well-being? So these are, I've kind of summarized what I see as the hazards that we're facing in the winter months. So first of all, lack of sunlight. So in this part of the world, as north as we are, our window for sunlight is quite small at this time of year. And that means that a lot of us are going to work in the dark, we're leaving work in the dark, or we're staying indoors a lot, and we're not getting that access to sunlight, which means we might not be making enough vitamin D, which we all know is essential for our immune system. So that can be a problem. Obviously, it's cold and flu season, and for anybody with children will know that kids coming home from school, from nursery, with all kinds of coughs and colds, but also just, you know, just from being out and about, it really is. There's a lot of bugs and viruses around, so that can be a potential hazard. Obviously, we've got Christmas coming up, which is lovely. But it can be a period of overindulgence. And I don't know about you, but I feel like it starts earlier and earlier in the supermarket, aisles and aisles of mince pies and festive flavoured chocolates and stacked up boxes of celebrations and all sorts. And it's really tempting. Okay, so it's not just Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and a few days either side. It's a whole month, maybe even 2 months of us being bombarded with these kinds of foods. And also there's like work parties and parties with your friends and families and all kinds of things. So there's lots of parties happening, and that can often mean a lot of overindulgence and drinking as well. But also because it's cold and dark, we're not spending a lot of time outside, we're not spending as much time in nature as we might otherwise. And most of us are well aware that being outdoors and spending time in nature is really beneficial for our mental health and our physical health. And so that can also have a bit of a detrimental effect. So we're going to be addressing all of these concerns in the next few slides, and I'm going to be talking about the positive ways that you can take care of yourself, eat well, and enjoy Christmas and enjoy the festive season, and just by building up your resilience a little bit more. So how to build resilience and foster wellness in winter. So I'm going to start by talking about the immune system. So there's a lot of information on this slide, so just don't get too overwhelmed. I'm going to go through each point, and I'm also going to send out a handout that will explain some of these points more. So don't worry about making loads of notes or not being able to keep up. It's all coming in a handout. Okay, so the first thing that I think is super important is looking after your immune system, because your immune system is going to be working overdrive in the winter. It's dealing with all kinds of viruses, bugs, and it's just having to work extra hard. So we want to be looking after it as best we can. So how do we look after the immune system? So everybody knows about vitamin C, and most of us know vitamin C we get from oranges and citrus fruits, which is great. And oranges are in season, so that's also great. But there's lots of other foods that contain high amounts of vitamin C. So you can be thinking about adding more peppers, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, brassica vegetables are in season. They're perfect to go with your Christmas dinner. And blackcurrants, kiwis and oranges, some lovely fruits that you can be including in your diet. There's lots of vitamin C. If you eat a broad range of fruits and vegetables, the chances are you'll be getting quite a good amount of vitamin C. If you're not much of a fruit and veg eater, you might want to supplement over the winter with some vitamin C. You can also choose a supplement that's got a bit of zinc in as well, because they work together to support the immune system. So around about 1,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C is a good supplement dosage to aim for if you are looking for a supplement. The other thing to be mindful of with your immune system is that your gut and your immune system work really closely together. For anybody that came to my gut health workshop a couple of months ago, we talked at length about this. The microbes in your gut are really, really important for looking after your immune system. So we need to look after our gut microbes so that they can look after our immune system. So what that means is we want lots of fibre. We want lots of fibre foods to feed and support our immune system, our gut microbes, and therefore our immune system. So again, that's fruits and veggies, but also things like beans, pulses, nuts, seeds, whole grains. It's a good time of year for nuts. There's nuts everywhere in the supermarket. So yeah, do include lots of nuts and seeds in your diet if that's your bag. Also things like whole grains and pulses. I really like those little pouches that you can buy in the supermarket now with mixed grains and pulses, and you can just heat them up, add them into a salad, or as an alternative to rice, for example, and it just increases the amount of fibre that you're getting. It feeds your gut microbes and therefore it supports your immune system. On the subject of gut health, fermented foods are also really important for looking after your gut. So if you're not used to fermented foods, a good place to start would be just some simple natural yogurt. I like to have Greek yogurt. I just prefer it. It's thicker, it's got more protein. But Greek style or just natural yogurt, as long as it's got cultures. So if you look on the ingredients and it says cultures, then it's live, it's probiotic. So that's really good for your gut. Also, things like fermented foods like sauerkraut, kefir, kombucha. These are all foods that are becoming much more common and that you can tend to find in supermarkets. If you want to, you can make them yourself. And if you're not sure how to do that, get in touch with me. I have a huge program of kraut and kombucha workshops coming up in the new year. But if you just want to ask me, I can send links to show you how to do it. It's really simple. But fermented foods are a really good way to look after yourself, look after your body through the winter. Healthy fat is really important, and that's because it helps to reduce inflammation. Inflammation is a sign that your immune system is struggling, it's overworked, it's dealing with too much, or it's getting too much of the wrong kind of fats that are causing inflammation. So having healthy fats that are omega-3 is really good at lowering inflammation. So that's oily fish in particular. It's things like salmon, sardines, mackerel. If you can include some of those in your diet, your immune system will thank you for it. But also olive oil, nuts and seeds. Again, another reason to have nuts and seeds, just looking after your immune system and helping to reduce inflammation. Plenty of water. That's an easy one that most of us can manage, but actually most of us often forget. We're busy, or we might be drinking a lot of tea and coffee, and that can be a diuretic. It can cause us to lose fluid. So if you're somebody who drinks a lot of coffee but you don't necessarily have a lot of water, you might want to start trying to swap out some of those teas and coffees for just a glass of water. You want to be looking for sort of 1.5 to 2 litres of water a day. Your teas and coffees don't really count towards that, but herbal teas do. So yeah, try and make sure you're keeping hydrated throughout the winter. And also, I do think most people can benefit from a vitamin D supplement in the winter. Look for something that is 1,000 up to 4,000 IUs. Ideally, you would want to get tested first to see what your level is, but unfortunately, GPs aren't really keen to do that. They will just say to you, just take a supplement because everybody needs one in the winter. So you might be just starting from that base level where you don't know what your level is. So you just have to kind of take a punt on a sort of daily supplemental level. So something like 1,000 to 4,000 IUs. If you can find a supplement that contains vitamin K2, that's really helpful because it helps with the absorption of vitamin D. I can send a few recommended supplements in an email if anybody would be interested in that. Okay, so these are some ways that you can be looking after your immune system over the winter. And, you know, notice that I'm not talking about don't eat this, don't do that, don't do the other. I'm talking about ways that you can bolster your immune system. Okay, so you can, you know, if you want to, you can still be going to Christmas parties and having some indulgence, but doing these things will really help. It will support your body if it does come into contact with, you know, flus and colds and bugs and things. It's really going to give you a better chance of A, being able to fight it off, or B, being able to have a milder infection than you might otherwise have. So yeah, these are some ideas for looking after your immune system. So the next section that I'm going to talk to you about is all about eating the winter rainbow. So I'm assuming everybody's heard that phrase, eat the rainbow. The principle of that is just getting a variety of different foods which have different properties, different benefits, and just making sure that we're really getting a lot of different micronutrients, that's vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. These are like tiny chemicals or phytonutrients that you find in foods that give us some kind of a benefit. And different colours have different properties, they have different benefits. So we want to eat from a wide selection of different types of fruits and vegetables. So I'm going to go through that now, the different colours, what they do, what kind of things you can find in each category. And if nothing else, if you can take away one thing from this presentation, it's to choose one thing from each of these colour categories that you currently don't have in your diet regularly and start including it just once a week. Just buy something different, but try and pick something from each category so you're getting different colours. So we'll start with red. So it's a brilliant time for red foods. We've got lots of red foods in season. We've got apples, cranberries, red onions, red pears, radicchio. We will have some winter rhubarb, possibly not yet, but soon. Chilies, blood oranges, lovely. Tin tomatoes, actually, they're not in season, but they are a really good thing to have in the winter. Why red foods? What do red foods give us? So there's lots and lots of compounds inside red foods that are really helpful for us. So you might have heard terms like anthocyanins, flavonoids, quercetin, lycopene. I don't know if you've heard those, but what they are is they are compounds that are found in specific foods that give us some kind of benefit. Okay, so what do we get from red foods? Red foods are really good for our heart health. Okay, so that's kind of easy to remember because they're red, our heart is red, it's pumping blood around. So red foods support our heart health, healthy blood vessels, healthy circulation, and that is really important for keeping healthy throughout the winter months. Red foods are anti-inflammatory, particularly because a lot of them contain something called quercetin, and that has anti-inflammatory effect in the body. So again, immune system, this is about calming down, supporting the immune system. So having things in the diet that are anti-inflammatory is really helpful. They contain antioxidants. So antioxidants what that means is antioxidants go around the body and they kind of mop up anything that's there that might cause us a problem, anything that might cause inflammation or damage. So antioxidants are really important. Particularly cranberries, actually, they have really high levels of antioxidants that can protect us from things like urinary tract infections. And they also support the oral microbiome. So, I think sometimes there's traditional wisdom in the foods that we eat at specific times of the year, because, we have cranberry sauce, we have cranberries throughout the winter, and part of that is to do with supporting and nourishing our immune system. Also, red foods help to balance out our blood sugar levels, and that can be particularly important during the winter because it's cold and it's dark. It can be a time that we reach more for sugar to give us a little pick-me-up, or it's a time where you're at the office and there's boxes of celebrations everywhere, and it can be hard to resist. So sometimes our blood sugar levels can be going on a little bit of a roller coaster if we're eating certain foods. So having these red foods in our diet can help to balance that out. Cooked tomatoes, really, really good tip for winter, because cooking tomatoes increases lycopene absorption. So lycopene is one of those compounds that you find in red foods, especially tomatoes, that is really beneficial. So actually, when we cook it, a lot of people think raw foods are usually better. Not always the case. When we cook our tomatoes, we absorb some of those beneficial compounds much better. So, I mean, again, it's just seasonal, isn't it? So, stews, soups, casseroles, it's a really good time for having cooked tomatoes. And, just make sure you've always got tinned tomatoes in the cupboard, and you can whip up a good bolognese or a good stew. And yeah, you'll be getting lots of lovely lycopene. Okay, so that's red. And again, if you only do one thing, have a try of something new from this list. I tell you what, I often don't have radicchio in my diet. It's quite bitter, but it is really nice. It's really nice when it's eaten alongside pear, a salad with radicchio, pear, maybe a bit of blue cheese in there. So I will join this challenge and try and have some radicchio in the next couple of weeks. Purple foods are fantastic, and it's a really good time for purple foods. So we've got things like beetroots, red cabbage, purple sprouting broccoli, purple sweet potatoes. Blackberries not in season but frozen, and same with plums and damsons, and elderberries are obviously purple, and we tend to have those kind of as a syrup in the winter. Why is purple important? Purple is very, very important for liver and detox pathways. So our liver is always working hard for us, always. But if there's ever going to be a time of indulgence, of drinking more than usual, of eating perhaps a bit more than usual or more sweet foods than usual, it is the liver that has to sort of pick up the burden there, and sort of detoxify. So purple foods support those pathways. It supports liver and detoxification pathways. So getting a bit more of these foods into your diet is a really good idea at this time of year. They are also really important for brain health and memory because they improve oxygen delivery to the brain. So that's obviously going to be a good thing. They're important for our gut health. We know having good gut health supports our immune system, because they're an excellent source of polyphenols. That's a term that you quite often hear bandied about. Polyphenols are a type of those plant compounds, chemical compounds that I was talking about. They exist in these foods and we can benefit from them. They're also important for hormone clearance. So this is especially important for anybody dealing with perimenopause, menopause, or menstrual symptoms, or any kind of hormone imbalance, anybody with PCOS. Hormone clearance is really, really important, and because of these purple foods ability to support our detoxification pathways, they also support our clearance of estrogen, which is really important. So I absolutely love fermenting my red cabbage. I've just recently done a market store where I sold loads of Christmas kraut, which is fermented red cabbage with lots of Christmas flavours. It's lovely. I took those to market. I sold out. I really, really, really love to ferment red cabbage. It's amazing. So if you can get your hands on some fermented red cabbage, great, or you can have a go at making some. It's actually really easy. But fermented cabbage alongside beetroot is going to be a really good sort of powerhouse gut and liver combo. So if you do nothing else from this slide, see if you can get some fermented red cabbage, have it alongside beetroot, and that is going to be a double whammy for supporting your immune system this winter. Green foods, so lots of green in season at the moment. Obviously most of us are kind of familiar with the traditional Brussels sprouts with our Christmas dinner. We might be also having broccoli, cabbage, leeks, spinach, kind of winter salad leaves like spinach and rocket and Swiss chard and watercress. So these are important because again they support hormone balancing. Those cruciferous vegetables, so cruciferous is your brassicas, your cabbage, broccoli, all those kind of vegetables, supporting estrogen detoxification. In particular, they contain sulforaphane, which activates liver enzymes. So when they say eat your greens, they, you know, we really mean it. Do eat your greens. It's really important. If you lightly steam or saute your cruciferous veg, you will increase the availability of that sulforaphane, and that is what's going to really help support the liver. So again, there's that myth that having your vegetables or having everything raw is potentially better for you. Some people think that cooking vegetables will destroy some of the nutrients or reduce some of the nutrients, but actually in some cases it enhances the availability of those nutrients, and that means our body can use them much easier. So eat your greens, but also steam your greens. Lightly steam them or saute them, and they will be much tastier to eat, and they will be much more nutritious for you. So if there's anything on there that you don't typically eat, I eat lots of broccoli and cabbage, but I could probably do with increasing something like watercress and rocket in my diet, so I'm going to try that. Okay, it's a good time for white or tan kind of stuff. Vegetables, onions, garlic, ginger, mushrooms, fennel, potatoes, cauliflower, parsnip, celeriac. So again, Jerusalem artichokes. These are all kind of typical winter vegetables, a lot of root vegetables in here. Garlic and ginger, we know that is going to work wonders for our immune system. Okay, so there's a compound in onion and garlic called allicin, and that has really strong antimicrobial activity. I quite often use allicin as a supplement when I'm working with clients with an overgrowth of bacteria in the gut, because I know how powerful allicin is as an antimicrobial agent. So if you eat lots of garlic and onion, then you're going to be adding that antimicrobial effect, and that is going to support your immune system. It's going to help you fight off colds and flus. A lot of these vegetables have benefits for the gut microbiome because they're prebiotic, which means that they feed the beneficial bacteria in your gut. So Jerusalem artichoke is a very good prebiotic. but also so is onions and leeks as well from the green. But onions, leeks are kind of green and white. So yeah, gut support is another one for white vegetables, and they are also anti-inflammatory and supporting our antiviral pathways. So that's good. Little tip for you there, if you expose your mushrooms, so you can buy these mushrooms that say vitamin D on them, they've been left out in the sun, but you can actually just buy any mushrooms and you can just leave them on the windowsill and they will absorb some of that sunlight and they will make some vitamin D. The mushrooms will make some vitamin D. So another nice way to increase your vitamin D intake. Is there anything on there that is something that you currently don't have very much of, and in which case could you add that into your shopping basket in the next week? Orange foods, lovely orange. So typically orange foods are very good for supporting our hormones. So we're talking about oranges, butternut squash, carrots, pumpkin, sweet potatoes, turmeric, lovely golden beetroots if you can get those, and dried apricots are a nice source of orange. Ideally get the unsulfured ones, they're a bit darker, they're really lovely. Obviously they're out of season, but they're dried, so it doesn't matter. They support hormones. They contain beta carotene, which is really important for ovulation and for progesterone. So even if you don't ovulate, you might be postmenopausal or you might be male, it's still a really important nutrient for hormone balancing. Orange also supports the skin and mucous membranes, and that's quite helpful because we can feel a bit dried out at this time of the year. For me, I think a lot of that is to do with having the central heating on. That tends to make me feel a bit dry, and that can dry out your mucous membranes. Mucous membranes are so important. The health of your mucous membranes is really critical to your immune function, because good mucous membranes will catch anything and deal with it before it sort of takes hold in your body. So orange foods will help to support healthy mucous membranes. Eye health, obviously, we know about carrots and being able to see in the dark. It's a thing. Beta carotene gets converted into vitamin A, which is really important for our eye health. And they also contain something called carotenoids, which again is another one of these plant compounds that I was talking about earlier, that is really helpful for supporting the immune system. Orange foods are really good to pair alongside healthy fats because the fat helps us to absorb the carotenoids and helps us to utilize them. So, you know, things like olive oil, nuts, tahini, nut butters, coconut oil, those kinds of foods. And you're gonna, your butternut squash, if you're gonna make a soup or a stew or a casserole, you're probably gonna want to roast your butternut squash or fry it off in some coconut oil, olive oil, whatever you like, and that's just going to really help to make all those nutrients more bioavailable. Okay, so eat the winter rainbow. So if nothing else, please just go through the list of fruits and vegetables that I've included in your handout of different colours and try and pick one thing from each category and see if you can include that in your diet, particularly if it's something different that you don't currently eat. So I really just want to encourage you to just diversify a little bit and just increase the range of different colours and different fruits and vegetables that you have in your diet. And that is really going to support your immune system and give you a little bit more resilience throughout the winter. Okay, so Christmas. Let's talk about Christmas because that's a big thing. And a lot of us hear that phrase, go on, it's Christmas, or oh, I'll start the diet after Christmas or start in the new year. But it's almost as if that period of indulgence is kind of getting longer and longer and longer. Like once upon a time, it would have been like a few days over Christmas and Boxing Day and maybe a few days later. But it's like the whole period between Christmas and New Year, because nobody knows if they're coming or going, and we're still eating Christmas cake and cheese boards all week long. But then it's leading up to as well, because there's all these Christmas parties, there's like fuddles at work, office Christmas parties, family get-togethers. I tend to have like groups of friends, like I'm going out for dinner with those friends, I'm going out for dinner with those friends. So we often have like going out to eat. Mince pies, they've been in the shops since November. There tends to be more drinking opportunities as well. And all of these things can collectively jeopardize our health over the winter, particularly by bombarding our immune system a bit too much. So this is what we're up against, and I get it. Like I just as much as the next person want to celebrate. I want to go out with friends. I want to start making mince pies and having chocolate and all the rest of it. So yeah, what can we do? How do we navigate through all these challenges and temptations? Okay, so first of all, I want to say that we don't have to we don't have to say no to everything. You know, you don't have to be good all season long. You can indulge, you can enjoy Christmas, you can celebrate, and still have a nice time, but also still look after yourself, look after your body. So for me, what I tend to do is I have some compromised foods, and then I have some kind of no-go areas. So for example, there's a lot of chocolate about this time of year, and I love chocolate. So that can be really tricky. Luckily, I don't work in an office, so I don't have the temptation of somebody's brought in another box of Celebrations or whatever that might be. I work at home. But if I did work in an office, what I would probably do is I would take in some good quality dark chocolate, and I would have it in my desk drawer or in the fridge. And whenever I was tempted by the Celebrations, I would probably go to the dark chocolate instead. So I still feel like I'm having a treat, but it's a healthier treat. It's going to have less of an impact on my blood sugar, and it's going to just help to support me a bit better. So that works for me. Maybe it would work for you. Maybe you're not into dark chocolate, or maybe you could start trying to gradually transition from milk chocolate to dark chocolate by just getting slightly darker and slightly darker. So you can get up to you can get 100%, but you know, 85, 70, 60, 50. So the higher the percentage, the stronger it is, but also the less sweet it is, the less sugar it's got in. So obviously the higher the percentage, the better that's going to be for you, because it's got less sugar, less of an impact on your blood sugar. And also a good quality dark chocolate doesn't have lots of other additives, emulsifiers, things like that in, whereas your typical you know, Cadbury's or Galaxy or Nestle kind of chocolates, they do have a lot of sugar and a lot of additives, so they're essentially ultra processed, whereas some good quality dark chocolate is a lot less processed. So if you can sort of make those swaps, brilliant. You can try making some lower sugar alternatives at home, things like mince pies. There's some really great recipes out there for lower sugar, gluten-free if you need to, not necessarily. And then I would also, you know, if you're having a work fuddle, and what happens is people bring in lots of tasty but not so healthy things like, I don't know, Scotch eggs and sausage rolls and crisps and that kind of thing. Why not be the person that brings in a platter, a big salad, a massive coleslaw? I always take a coleslaw to these things, or just a big platter of cheese and vegetables and fruits and crackers, and that way there's going to be something healthy to eat. you could either stick to your platter, or you can just have that platter food alongside all the other stuff. But the healthy, good nutrients on that platter are going to help you to make that whole meal more nutrient dense, even if you do want to indulge in the other things that are there, and that's absolutely fine if you do. So these are some of the ways that I get through the festive period. You might have some other ideas, but it's a good idea to sort of try and just to kind of set yourself a few boundaries, like, okay, I'm going out for this meal, and on that day I'm going to have whatever I want, and I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm just going to enjoy it. But actually I've got this work fuddle, and for that one I actually want to try and bring something healthy, and then hopefully that will encourage everybody to have something healthy, and I'm going to be having a more nutritious meal than I would otherwise. So it's just kind of working out where those opportunities are for you to just raise the bar a little bit, you know, make the overall feast more healthier than it would otherwise be. Okay, we need to talk about alcohol. So Christmas is a time of going out, drinking, parties, celebrations, and obviously alcohol is going to be a feature. So I won't beat around the bush. Alcohol is going to have it's going to put a strain on your body. Your liver is going to have to work really hard to detoxify, and it's going to make you more vulnerable to illnesses and coughs and colds and things. So if you are somebody that would like to have a drink around Christmas, absolutely go for it. Maybe just try and factor in some of these tips and ideas that would help to reduce the amount of alcohol you drink overall, or reduce the impacts that it could have on you. So for example, if you're going out for an evening, you might want to set yourself a limit for that particular evening. Say, this evening I'm just going to have 2 glasses of wine, or I'm just going to have 1 tonight. Or you might have another night where you're like, do you know what, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to drink however much I like. But if you have those, if you kind of set yourself some limits, so that you're not drinking excessively on a regular basis, okay, so it kind of alternates. When you are drinking, it is a nice idea to alternate between having alcohol and water, because that helps to keep you dehydrated, and it will helps to keep you hydrated, and it will reduce the amount of alcohol that you drink overall on a night. Maybe choose a couple of nights, you know, let's say you've got 5 or 6 nights out planned over the next few weeks. Maybe you're going to say, okay, I'm going to drink for 3 of them, and then I'm going to not drink for 3 of them. Maybe plan to be the designated driver for that evening, so you won't be tempted. And again, it's just about reducing the overall amount that you're drinking. And also, just on the night or whenever it is, just notice how quickly you're drinking, and maybe just try and slow down, be a little bit more mindful, allow yourself to really taste it and enjoy it. And just see if bringing that awareness and that mindfulness just slows things down a little bit. And again, we're just thinking about reducing the overall intake, and therefore having an overall reduced impact on your liver function. Okay, nutrient boosters. I love this because it's not about don't do this, don't do that. It's about what can I do to just really bolster and boost my immune system. So here are some ways that I like to add little nutrient boosters into my diet around this time of year. Ginger, turmeric, cinnamon. These are all really great spices that are very warming, very lovely at this time of year, but they also support your immune system. So they're great to have with warm fruit. So I like to have maybe just chop up some apple and some frozen berries, mix that in a pan, and throw in a bit of ginger, a bit of turmeric, a bit of cinnamon. and just really nice kind of spiced fruit. It's really nice with yogurt, or you can have it in some porridge. Juices and smoothies are a really good way to get a boost of nutrients. You do need to be mindful with juices and smoothies that if you put loads of fruit in them, then they become a bit of a blood sugar booster. So you end up on this kind of blood sugar roller coaster. So try to keep to minimal fruit and more kind of fats and nutrients, vegetables. So something like half a banana, half an avocado, and then maybe some spinach, some mint, yeah, just getting some greens in there is a good idea. So you could use like half a banana to give it a bit of sweetness, but otherwise keeping to greens, and avocado is nice to make a smoothie nice and creamy and thick, and it's also a really good source of fat that helps you to absorb some of those lovely nutrients. I really like homemade dressings, and like a pesto is a really good way to really massively pack in a punch when it comes to nutrients. So if you think about a traditional pesto, which is basil and garlic, parmesan, pine nuts, the garlic and the basil are just going to give you kind of such a big nutrient boost. And you can make a big batch of that and freeze it in little ice cube trays, and then whenever you're making a salad or pasta or something like that, you can just defrost and mix through that pesto, and it just gives you a really good nutrient boost. And of course, a good multi-nutrient supplement is always an option. You can just take that throughout the winter. In my view, it's not it shouldn't be instead of doing a lot of these sort of nutrition things. It's as well as, it's to give you kind of a little bit of a baseline background nutrient boost, and then you want to add in as many of these other things as you can. Okay, so food wise, we've covered a lot. We've talked about the rainbow, we've talked about immune system bolstering foods, we've talked about what to watch out for around about Christmas. So there's lots there for you to take on board. It's really important that I mention that it's not just about food, okay? So sleep, stress, how we move also has a big impact on how we feel, our mental health, and obviously our immunity and how well we are. And it can be a time when there's a lot of stress, there's a lot to organise, there's a lot going on at work. We might not be motivated to move as much as we are in the summer months. A lot of people don't feel motivated to go out walking or go out for exercise. It can be a time when we feel like we want to hibernate, but actually, if we're not careful, we can end up not doing enough to sort of maintain the movement levels that we need. So it's just really to say, don't overlook the importance of sleep, managing your stress, and movement. So 8 hours is a good amount of sleep to aim for. Now, if you're going to bed at midnight and your alarm clock goes off at 6, you have no chance of getting 8 hours of sleep. So think about giving yourself a sleep opportunity. So even if you don't sleep for that full time, so you might wake up for a wee, or you might get woken up by somebody that you're caring for, or for whatever reason, you might get woken up in the night. But at the very least, give yourself that opportunity so that there is a chance that you might still get a good night's sleep. Move your body in whatever way feels good to you. So I'm not here to say to you, you must go to the gym, you must lift weights, you must go running. Whatever feels good for you. A walk in the park is great because you're getting exercise and sunlight and being outdoors and nature, ticking all the boxes. But it could be yoga, you could be just doing that in your living room along with YouTube, lifting some weights at home. Whatever feels good for you, just try and move your body a little bit throughout the week. Managing stress is really important. A lot of us are kind of just constantly on the go all the time. We're working, we're caring, we might be looking after children, and we very rarely get a chance to actually de-stress and unwind. And what happens there is that our body's stress system is constantly on firing and constantly on the go, and in order to maintain that, the body has to deprioritize other systems. So that can be your digestion, it can be your immune system, it can be your reproductive system. So we can start to have hormone imbalances. So when we consciously try to lower our stress levels, the stress response dampens down, and then the body can focus on other areas like bolstering immunity, for example. And so this could be, as little as, dig out a craft project that you've been meaning to do for ages, or picking up your guitar that you haven't played for ages, or just reading a book, turning off your phone, trying to avoid distractions. So whatever it is for you that helps you to lower your stress levels, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, try and maintain that throughout the winter months, because that will really help with your stress levels. And I would say a good thing to aim for is getting outside for at least 10 minutes in the morning, because getting some outside light first thing in the morning helps to train your brain to understand that that is morning, and therefore your circadian rhythm then will register that, and it will kind of understand by the time it's nighttime that it's actually nighttime. For a lot of us, if we're working from home or spending a lot of time at home, we are in danger of staying inside all day, and the body just gets really confused. It doesn't understand when morning and when night is, and therefore it can be harder for us to actually get to sleep at night. So if you can spend about 10 minutes outside, even if it's cold, put your coat on, take your cup of tea in the morning, and just potter about in the garden for 10 minutes. If you don't have anywhere to be, see if you can do that. So yeah. Okay, so food, sleep, managing stress, moving as much as you can. These are the sort of pillars, if you like, of health, and we need to be trying to at least address all of those areas. But if you feel like currently like, oh my god, all of those areas are in complete disarray, my diet's terrible, I don't get enough sleep, I don't have time to exercise, I'm stressed out to the max, like I don't know where to start, I get that. Start with some of those diet tips that we talked about. Start with just getting some of those colourful fruits and veggies in. Just start there, don't do anything else, just do that, and give it a few weeks and see what happens. Usually there's a bit of a knock-on effect. So you do one thing, you start to feel a bit better, and then you've got the motivation to do another thing. And it can kind of snowball like that. So without overwhelming yourself, just start with one thing. And maybe, if you've got quite a lot of Christmas events planned, have a think about some of those ways I spoke about navigating through some of those events, and just see what kind of resonates. Like, if drinking isn't an issue for you and you want to go out and have some drinks, fine, do that. But if you're someone who's thinking, oh, actually I probably have been drinking a bit much lately, maybe it'll be a good idea to drink a bit less, then maybe those tips around mindful drinking are for you. So really have a think about all the things we've talked about in this session, and have a think about what resonates for you, and what are just one or two things that you can take away from it and start doing. And maybe in 2 or 3 weeks time you want to add something else. And please, if you have any questions about any of this, please get in touch. I'm gonna share with you my my contact details, so you can email me, you can message on Facebook or Instagram. Just let me know if you've got any questions about supplements or about how to implement some of the tips that we've talked about this evening, anything at all, please do let me know. I'm really open to talking more on an individual level with you about about some of these things. And please just enjoy the festive season and celebrate and do the things that make you happy as well. And thank you very much for listening.